The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
This is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
it might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. We're taping this on a Monday because of Hurricane Sandy. Hopefully by the time you hear this, everybody is safe and there has not been a lot of damage. We had to roll the dice and have Cousin Sal on a Monday, a day early. We're going to have him tomorrow, but who knows if he's going to have cell reception. Cousin Sal, you're in Brooklyn. How are you?
I am in Brooklyn. We're here doing a week of shows at Jimmy Kimmel Live, which is just now turned to 4 days of shows at the most in Brooklyn.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
Who got canceled today?
Kelly Ripa was on with Alicia Keys, and the idea, it's just problems getting people to the theater. And what stinks is Fallon and Letterman have shows because they're in Manhattan, but being in Brooklyn, we have to contend with the shut down tunnels and bridges and stuff.
Yeah.
So no one could get over here, and we're going to have Alicia Keys. Jimmy was actually, over the last second measure, was going to do the show from his hotel room in a robe, and Alicia Keys was going to sing, but then she couldn't make it. So now we're down to 3 days.
You're going to do a hotel room show. That would have been exciting.
Yeah, it would have been fun, right?
I say you still do it.
I know, I'd like to. He's really hung up on the fact that it's funnier if there's a guest there that came all that way. Otherwise, it's too long an hour to keep going. But
yeah, you could do maybe an hour-long podcast. You and Jimmy could have guessed the lines. That could have easily passed. Cowboys down 23-0 yesterday. My son's birthday party was also yesterday, and your sons arrived at halftime. It was like the third quarter, and your son Archie saw the score and said, "Oh my God, Dallas came back." I was really proud of him. It was a great moment.
I should tell him just not to watch anymore, right? I mean, there's just something wrong with being a Cowboys fan. It's like when they say you shouldn't go on roller coasters too much because eventually that's up your brain and it's just not good. It's a nice sensation maybe if you like them, but it's not good. Like, I don't know. 17 weeks out of a year to root for this team, 14 of those weeks are just miserable endings. Like, we had 5 endings in that game yesterday, and 4 of them were bad. I felt sick inside. I really did. And you
definitely would be the number one draft pick if I had gone into last weekend and had been asked the question, who's going to come back down from 23 points, take the lead, blow the lead, and then score the apparent go-ahead game-winning touchdown, but the guy's fingertip was out of bounds and it got nullified. I would have picked Dallas.
It's disgusting. And and it's one thing to lose to the Seahawks, get crushed by them, and then you could just blame the players, like, oh, the offensive line stinks, and what Romo's not in sync, and the defense is terrible, and Jason Garrett doesn't know how to make calls. But I saw so many good things out of that. Like, Jason Garrett had 2 good goal line calls, and Romo came back, and we had a chance to beat the Giants, and our tight end sets a record for receptions, and that's when you start thinking the team is cursed. It's like it's beyond anything that's controlled. Like, this team is just not meant to succeed. There's nothing we could do about it.
The only thing I would say, and the reason I picked the Giants to win yesterday, was it just seemed far-fetched to me that the Cowboys are going to beat the Giants twice in the same season.
I agree.
That was it.
I picked the Giants, but Sean Lee out. He's our toughest defensive player. And, DeMarco Murray was out, and the Giants have revenge on their mind, and they seem to just toy with teams anyway, and I didn't think it would be close. But, that said, we took the lead 24-23, and it's just the same old. I think I said this last week, I think the Giants sort of play possum with teams. They know they could turn it on in the fourth quarter and be tough whenever they want and win these games.
We learned a couple things yesterday, I felt like. I think Pittsburgh's offense now is rounding into shape. And to me, they're the AFC North team now that I think takes it. They can throw the ball, they can move the ball, and that one thing they can do is better than anybody else. Then you have, I thought the Pats offense now, it just seems like they're getting a better handle on that. For whatever reason, went into a funk, but I feel better about the Pats than I did a couple weeks ago. And then Denver, I know New Orleans' defense stinks, but I was impressed. Denver took care of business in that game. Like, they didn't even let Drew Brees hang around. It was just like, yeah, God, I didn't mean to.
No, you almost have to put them in the top 5 now, right? With the way they just now there's some decent team. Well, now the Saints defense is miserable, but they're tough to stop, Denver. I mean, you imagine that Peyton Manning. I didn't think it would take. Yeah, I guess we're 8 games in now. It took less time than I thought for him to click and be back to 5 years ago for him with the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, the rub against them was that they had kept falling behind by 20, but it seems like they're in a better shape. So I think you'd have to have them as the clear runaway favorite to win that division now, maybe even get a 3 seed.
So which divisions do you close out here? Which one?
I think we close out AFC West. Yeah, that one's closed out. I think I still can't close out the AFC East because the Pats don't have a big enough lead yet. But I think it's heading that way. I think the Steelers are heading that way. Houston closed that one out. I guess you can't close out the Giants yet, even though I feel like I'd be shocked if they didn't win the NFC East, right?
No, based on yesterday, who catches them?
Yeah,
really?
Nobody catches them. NFC North. I haven't seen the Bears play a good game. When was the last time the Bears played a good game?
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, coming off this bye, they didn't look good Monday against Detroit, and then yesterday the defense stepped up at the last minute to win. But yeah, I still think that's the Packers to win.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Green Bay. We can cross off NFC South, and then I think after Seattle blew that Detroit game yesterday, I think we can cross off NFC West. Even though the only thing you could say is Seattle's played 5 games on the road already. So down the stretch they have 5 at home, 3 in the road. They could potentially get to 10, 11 wins. So the Niners still have a little work left. But we're taping this on a Monday, so we don't know what happened in the Arizona game tonight. But
there you go. So
it does seem like we know the champs.
The rest of the year. We're good the rest of the year. You just heard it right here. Yeah.
Let's do week 9.
All right, let's do it. You know what? I should check these lines because I checked them early this morning, and I want to make sure they didn't change. The bye teams are the 2 London teams, St. Louis and New England, and Jets in San Francisco. And the Thursday night
Jets
game,
needed that bye week.
Boy, what is that? I don't even know what you do with them. Like they're saying, no, you got to pull the plug on Sanchez, but put up good numbers against the Pats defense, which isn't all that bad now. You're looking now if you go by that Rams game. A lot of these teams just can't put together 2 good games in a row, right?
The Dolphins 2 times in a row beat the crap out of them. And the first time they ended up somehow not winning the game, but they dominated it and should have won, and Tannehill just wasn't ready to win it. And yesterday they dominated them. But I think the Dolphins, I stand by the Dolphins being a playoff team potentially. I think they can get to 10 or 11 wins.
Don't they have? I saw a miserable December schedule. Is it possible they have New England twice in December and then some other?
It's possible, but one of those New England games might not mean anything.
Yeah, that's true.
We might have a 2 or 3 seed locked up. Although I guess them versus Denver, maybe they'll be fighting to the bitter end for that 2 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you just look at the AFC versus the NFC and. Atlanta looked great yesterday. I don't know if you watched that game.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it was Philly rolling over. I don't know how much of it was a talent differential, but Atlanta took care of business yesterday, and it at least made me feel a little bit better about them as a 1 seed than I did a week ago.
You have guys you haven't even heard of catching touchdowns for them. That's when it gets scary for the rest of the NFC, I think. But,
all right, so what do we got Thursday night?
Thursday night, it is Kansas City at San Diego.
Oh, God.
This is very good. They get the cream of the crop this Thursday night.
San Diego's not good. Not a good football team. I actually thought there might be a chance we could have the Andy Reid, Norv Turner combo firing today, but I don't know if the hurricane made people not want to fire their coach.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But
it's funny. I looked at the San Diego Cleveland game. I thought it was going to be Schumer or
Oh,
Or
loser
North
leaves
Carolina.
town?
Yeah, loser leaves town. Didn't happen.
I don't see how Kansas City can be favored by less than 6 points against anybody in football at this point. I'm going to say San Diego by 6.5.
All right, should have gone a little higher. I went 7, and it's 8.5.
That's too high. It's just too
Well,
high.
they may be looking at Kansas City as the worst team in the league at 1-6, and still not having. I mean, what did Quinn play? 2 series, and they yanked him.
If they're the worst team in the league, San Diego's not that far behind.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you have to score, right? You still have to score.
Yeah, they're just not good. It's not a good football team. It's
I
not,
agree.
you can't even say they're in a funk. Like, they're just not good at football.
Yeah. Well, they should try something else.
Maybe basketball.
Yeah, basketball. Sunday, Baltimore at Cleveland. You'll get this. You'll get this one.
Yeah, this is Baltimore by 3.
All right, I actually said 3 also, and I'm looking now, and it's 3.5. So we both tie.
I like Cleveland. I really like Cleveland in that game. For some reason, I pick Cleveland every week.
Well, not that he had great numbers yesterday, but Whedon, so a month ago they played this, right? At least a month ago on the Thursday night game, and Whedon had a Hail Mary attempt to tie or win? And,
how about this? Dirty secret. Whedon's been fairly confident this season.
Yeah.
I hate admitting it because there's a lot of good Brandon Whedon jokes, especially the first couple of weeks, but I think you got to retire him.
I feel like there's not one quarterback that we could bet against consistently every week, and this is the first year of that.
No, the Kansas City quarterbacks. Kansas City.
Yeah, I guess so.
I felt really good about picking the Raiders yesterday because of their quarterbacks.
All right, that's true. That's true. So then we should go San Diego also. I mean, isn't that San Diego season?
That line's too high, though.
Yeah.
They asked Romeo Crennel why Jamal Charles only carried the ball 5 times yesterday. He said he didn't know. This is the answer.
He didn't know? He didn't know who he was?
He didn't know. I'm really mad because I made all these jokes last year about Romeo and how I really wanted them to win those last couple games down the stretch so we could bet against them last year. I don't feel like I've maximized my anti-Romeo betting profits nearly enough.
Yeah. What can we do?
It's too late now. I think December 2011 Bill Simmons would have gone into the future and told September 2012 Bill Simmons to just remember this moment, bang the Chiefs, and for some reason I got out of it.
Right. Well, maybe we could do some retroactive tweeting or something. I don't know. Yeah, he's gotten too much of a pass. Arizona at Green Bay.
I was a little mad. I laid all those points with Green Bay in the in my column, and no Jordy Nelson.
I did too, and yeah, but so what? I mean, Jacksonville has all right, unless you count Sissel Shorts. Maurice Jones-Drew is out. Why the Packers were happy to win that game by 2 points, and the Jags were happy to give them that game by 2 points. So that was lousy to watch that second half.
Yeah, that seemed like a Milton Berle game. I think the Bears were one too, like just pulling out enough to win in both cases. Let's get out of here. Nobody gets hurt. Arizona and Green Bay. Now, what sucks is that we don't know what Arizona's going to do tonight, and they're getting 7 at home against the Niners, a line that just seems like it's creeping higher and higher. I'm going to say Green Bay by 10.5.
Oh, you're going to get this. I went higher. I said 12. I don't know. I figured just what you said. Niners were 7 on the road, and maybe Arizona starts falling apart. It's 10. So
yeah. Green Bay didn't look that good yesterday. Nah, they didn't look good yesterday.
No. They got to start winning. They have to be 6-3. They're not going to be 5-4, right?
Yeah.
Buffalo at Houston.
Buffalo coming off a bye week. Houston coming off a bye week.
That's right.
Buffalo has a tendency to just get killed. They don't lose; they get killed if they lose. I'm going to say
if we could bet an adjusted line here, where Buffalo wins the game or loses by 30, I think we win.
I'm going to say Houston by 12.5.
You went a little high. I said 10.5, and it's only 10. 2 winners there. Houston, Green Bay.
Yeah.
Just to win the game.
Yeah, if Houston's in a 3-teamer, you're not really sweating out the Bills in that game.
No. Should be okay. Miami and Indianapolis.
Ooh. I like it. I'm going to say Indianapolis by 2.5.
Wow. I said Miami by 1.5, and it's Miami by 2.5. You went the wrong way.
I don't agree with that line.
Yeah, they're 2, 4, and 3 teams. We both like Miami, but it does seem like Andrew Luck's better on the road or something, right?
I got to say, Andrew Luck, it took 6 weeks, but he has reached a point now where I feel like he's going to come through at the end of these games.
Yeah.
I really do. They won the overtime toss. It was like they're going to go down and score. And it wasn't like they were lighting it up. It was 13-13. But
Right.
I really just felt like, I feel like he gets better when it matters. I know that's like, that's one of those stupid things that it's like a sports writer thing to say, and you don't have to back it up. You just say it. But I'm just telling you how I felt watching the game. I was like, he's going to score, and they're going to get a touchdown and win.
Yeah. You can tell me how you feel. That's what this
all
is all
right,
about.
thank you.
But that play at the end with the pile, I mean, that was from a
was
video
great.
game. I don't think I ever seen anything like that.
And by the way, everybody was like, "Who is Vic Ballard?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's been starting for me in the last 2 weeks of my West Coast, my terrible West Coast fantasy league. It's the highlight of my season was Vic Ballard doing a 180 swan dive."
What about the nice trade offers you've been getting? I mean, I want to hear your side of it, but I hear that you've been very stubborn with trading Charles Johnson.
Calvin Johnson.
Well, Calvin Johnson. Sorry. I'm in the wrong
Well, here's the
decade.
thing. My team was 1-5.
Right.
And at that point, I don't feel like you should be trading. Like, it always makes me mad if your team has been knocked out of it and all of a sudden you're swinging the race. And I had a chance to trade for Drew Brees and Stephen Ridley for Calvin Johnson, basically. And for Calvin Johnson and who's the other one? Oh, and Matt Schaub. But it's like, I don't know. Like, where's it going to get me ultimately? Then I had to start Justin Blackman at receiver. I was basically looking at a 0 from him. I don't know. Do you think I should be able to trade when I'm 1-5?
Well, here's the thing. I go both ways with that because as soon as someone is 1-5 trades and it looks like they're getting slightly the worst end of the deal, I go nuts. I'm like, you're giving up.
I didn't want to be that guy.
But on the other hand, when you're 1-10 and I need you to win a game so I can get in the playoffs and you have a crap team in your lineup, and I'm like, what are you doing with this team? So maybe you
Well, here's the
should
thing.
always
I would
look
have
at that.
So I would have lost anyway if I made the trade in the previous week. And then this week, I'm going to win unless Frank Gore somehow decides not to play. All I need is like 10 yards from Frank Gore.
You need like 8 yards, and I need you to win
8 yards. Yeah. But had I made that trade,
you would have lost.
I would have lost.
All right, good.
So I think so far I made the right move. I don't think a crappy team should decide playoff pictures in fantasy.
I'm with you. That's
I have a
pretty
crappy
good.
team.
That's pretty good. The other thing is people always try to trade you their good quarterback. Like, someone's always going to have 2 good quarterbacks, and then they try to trade you one. It's like, all right, even though your quarterback you're trading me is better than the one I have, like, I could pick someone off the waiver wire still and get someone who's going to score like 3 or 4 points less a game.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough fantasy talk. Chicago at Tennessee.
I don't know what to make of Chicago anymore. I was a big believer in their defense. But Carolina kind of went through it yesterday. They were moving the ball that whole game.
And not a lot of scoring either on the other end. Where there should
not a lot of scoring, and it really seems like it's hard for them to move the ball down the field, Chicago.
They're like the Chargers with a better defense, I think. Or just they can't really move the ball, even with Marshall and Forte and so biggish names, and but their defense seems to bail them out.
I think 2 weeks ago I would have said Bears by 6, but now I'm going to say Bears by 4.
All right, we're going to split this because I said 3, and it's 3.5.
I almost said that. God.
I'm staying away from that game as much as I can. Tennessee
I don't.
team.
How about this? Can I just not trust Jay Cutler or Matthew Stafford in any gambling situation either way? It seems like it's like playing with the fireplace or something.
Yeah. Detroit at Jacksonville. Talking about playing with the fire.
That's another terrible game. This
know
is
what
like
to do.
terrible game week. I'm gonna say Detroit by 5.5.
Oh, you went too high. I said 3, and it's 3.5.
Yeah, I went too high.
Lighting you up here, 7-6.
Yeah, you're lighting me up because I didn't prepare. I'm winging this podcast. You told me you had this small window. This is like a new strategy for you. I have a half hour to tape a podcast, or I'm going to lose cell reception. We got to tape that. I'm not ready.
Speaking of small windows, I'm staring at my small window here. This could be the last podcast I ever tape.
Yeah, that's true.
This storm's coming to get me.
I'm glad you're going to win then.
That's why I'm stepping it up. All right, Carolina at Washington.
Oh, I wanted to believe in the Redskins thing, but they got waxed yesterday. They got killed.
That was the game. I should have texted you as far as the gambling thing. Like
everybody loved the
was on
Skins.
Redskins.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody loved them getting 4 at home, 4 on the road.
Pittsburgh's done that twice now with these home games where they're getting less than 6. They're a great home team, and over again they haven't been getting their respect this year. And I'm scolding myself.
The Redskins' offensive line was just laughing so hard at the Steelers' uniforms. It took to like the second quarter.
It's true. They're thrown off by how terrible they were. So this is Cam Newton versus Robert Griffin.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
I keep looking at games like that. Like, okay, this is where he wants to show off. Didn't he go when he went against your boy there, Russell Wilson? I was like, that's where he's going to do it. And this just doesn't happen.
I have Washington favored by, I'm going to say 4.
All right, you got that exact. I went too high. I said 6. But they should win that game.
I still believe in Washington. I just don't I think I believe in them as like a better than average team that can cover. I think they were just due for a game like that. They had been in every game.
Yeah, it's banged up the Pittsburgh defenses. They throw more defensive schemes at you than any other team.
Coming off a bye week, right? Weren't they coming off a bye week? Yeah. That Washington was due for one of those. I still think they're a decent team.
Mm-hmm. All right, Denver at Cincinnati. Talk about something where the line would have been different a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't believe in Cincinnati. I'm going to say Denver by 3.
All right, let me find this. You have it exactly. Wow. Climbing back. I said by 1.
I'm back.
And it's by 3. Denver by 3 on the road.
Yeah,
There's
Denver really...
I think that's 5 road favorites in the 3 or 4 point area there. Could be a crazy week. And then, all right, so what's the best of those early games?
Oh, God. What do you think?
Ugh. Baltimore, Cleveland? What is it? That's an ugly
Maybe
slate.
Denver,
Maybe the one
Cincinnati. I don't even know.
Cincinnati.
Ugh.
I don't like that at all.
I guess Cam versus RG3 is fun.
Yeah, for a while it could be okay.
Maybe they make an agreement before the game. We're each throwing 50 passes, and that's just how this is going to play out. May the best man win.
That might be how it works. So 3 late afternoon games. Tampa Bay at Oakland.
Not nearly enough late afternoon games this year, and it's really becoming upsetting. We only had 2 yesterday.
Well, the last 2 weeks it's because Fox can't run games, right? Because of the World Series, they don't run.
I don't care. I don't care what the reason is.
I know.
So what was his first late afternoon?
Tampa Bay at Oakland.
Well, that was. Oh.
The Super
Tampa
Bowl
Bay
rematch.
might be. Yeah, Tampa Bay. That might have been an important tipping point game for them in Minnesota. They were fantastic in that game.
Yeah, 10 days off.
I'm going to say Oakland by exactly 3 points.
I went even higher. I said 3.5. And you're right, Sim.
2.5?
1.5. It's actually 1.5.
Oh, Tampa
Oakland
coming off
by
a bye. A little better than Oakland. Yeah, I can see that. I think that goes up toward Oakland now a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge Oakland after that Chiefs win. Maybe we shouldn't bet anyone after they play the Chiefs because it's so misleading. Minnesota at Seattle.
Ooh. This is a loser leaves the 2012 season match.
Yeah, probably. 5-3 Vikings, 4-4 Seattle.
I'm going to say Seattle by 4 points.
All right, I went higher than that. I said 4.5, and it's 5.
Oh, Vegas zone.
That's a lot. That's a lot for them.
You know what? I'm going to say something about my Seahawks that are 4-4 and threatening to make my Super Bowl prediction look terrible. their defense 2 times now has had a chance to close. Actually, 3 times and Green Bay didn't come back to haunt them, but they've had fourth quarters where all their defense had to do is get a stop and then win the game. In Week 1, Arizona, Kevin Cobb went down the field and scored the go-ahead touchdown on them. Last week, they were in a position to win. They took the lead. Russell Wilson did his job, and all they did was stop the Lions, and it was like a 15-play drive. They couldn't stop them. So I don't know if the Seattle defense is as good as I thought it was going to be. I'm disappointed.
Defending your boy, Wilson. I like that.
Wilson was good yesterday. He played well.
Yeah.
Good game.
Yeah, Detroit's a weird team, too, though. Either they're out of the game totally or it's like, see you in the fourth quarter. Always make a run or we're going to lose. So, all right, what is it? 7-6. I'm up. 3 games left. Pittsburgh at the Giants.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah, this is good.
That's a good
Finally.
one.
I remember looking at the Giants' schedule. I'm like, they have an awful first half of the season. They're not going to be able to compete, especially after losing to the Cowboys. Now they're 6-2. What happened?
I'm going to say the Giants by 4.5.
All right, I have this one exactly. I said 3.5. They're still afraid to make them a big favorite at home against good teams.
I guess, but man, it seems a little low for a Pittsburgh team that everybody was giving up on 2 weeks ago.
How great was Coughlin's face for that 10 seconds when he thought that was a touchdown?
It was great.
Need that back.
It was great.
And then my team, Sunday night, Dallas at Atlanta.
Oh, God, you're on a Sunday night?
Yeah.
Does the nightmare ever end? Every week you're like the featured game.
Oh, I know.
Dallas at Atlanta. Oof. I think this goes over 7.
I
I'm
was
going to say
hoping we get beat, crushed by the Giants, and then sneak up on the undefeated Falcons. But that's not going to happen.
I'm going to say, I'm going to say exactly 7. Atlanta by 7.
Oh, you went too high. I said 5.5, and that was too high. It's 4.5.
I don't agree with that at all. Well, congrats. You won the week. You won your last week.
All
Coming back live right now. Cousin Sal just told a Des Bryant story that we're going to cut. But I really enjoyed it, and you guys can't hear it.
All right. Maybe I'll tweet it out. I don't know. No, I got to keep that to myself. All right, Philly at New Orleans. They're just stupid, everybody. That's all I've known.
Philly at
Sunday
New
night.
Orleans.
Or Monday night.
God. Monday night. And Andy Reid is apparently not going to get fired. I'm going to say New Orleans by 3. They're dead even. They both stink.
You get this. I said 2.5. It's 3.5. Well, I really had trouble making New Orleans a favorite of any kind this game. But, yeah, you get it at 3. I mean, they're at some
Philly
point,
is terrible.
Yeah, I know.
They're terrible. Well,
Yeah,
let me ask you this.
Move the ball. Yeah.
I have Michael Vick as one of my East Coast fantasy quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Do I just waive him?
Well, you have a weird thing in that league, right? It's like a playoff league.
Yeah, it's a playoff league. They're not going to make the playoffs, but he's not good anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like I just waive him. This is it. What am I holding on to? I'm holding on to a
no
guy
Eagles.
who fumbles twice a game and throws for 100 yards.
There's no Eagles fan in the league that you can trade. Well, I guess an Eagles fan more than anyone would know what's going on. But yeah, you might have to just waive him. Make a stand.
I'm going to waive him.
Yeah.
I'll do a screensaver of it and Twitter it. All right, want to plug the rest of this Brooklyn week that'll hopefully happen?
Yeah, let's cross our fingers and hope that Jimmy Kimmel Live tomorrow, it's Tuesday, Howard Stern and Tracy Morgan. That'll be a nice show, right?
Yeah,
Wednesday, the
show.
great David Letterman. Jimmy's already freaking out about that. And Thursday, Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert.
And then
our agent James Dickman is in all his glory. I want 25 seats in the front row, because he represents all three. It's Jimmy, John.
Oh my God.
So, he's been nuts.
And there's no Friday show.
I'm sorry, Friday. Yeah, Friday. We're trying to reschedule Kelly Ripa for Friday. It's going to be Barbara Walters and Alicia Keys. So, but it'll be fun. You should be out here, Simmons. Get out here.
I know. I've been doing the NBA thing. I was really, really deeply disappointed that Gabe Kaplan and Marcia Strassman weren't booked for any of these shows.
Let me tell you, Howard Stern is afraid of the rain or something. We may have to replace them.
Also, I thought for sure maybe a reunion of the Saturday Night Fever, Travolta and the other three guys. Whatever happened to those three guys? Maybe get them out for an act 2. I would have done that. I don't know. Travolta's
nowhere to be found. We pitched him for some Sandy, Hurricane Sandy. He sinks to Sandy with that's his Grease role, but it's not going to happen.
I don't want to say Kimmel's changed over the last 10 years, but I think in 2002, Jimmy has Gabe Kaplan on one of these shows. I'm just saying.
You're right.
I'm just saying he does.
If you had seen him eat pizza last night, you would not think he's changed at all. The Grambling column, I was 4-0 or something. Really, please start reading this. I had Pats, there will be a score in the first 6 minutes. Eagles, longest touchdown in that game, over 44.5 yards. Giants, over 25 points. All winners all day. Vernon Davis. Let's take him 7-1 to score the first touchdown.
All right, we might run this pod today so people can hear this. Cousin South.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Stay safe out there. Give everyone in New York a hug, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, buddy. Talk to you. Thanks.
All right.
Happy birthday, Barry, to you. It's the Subway Surprise Birthday Party. And to celebrate, Subway is baking up a fresh new cookie with real cranberries, blueberries, and sweet white chips. It's the new Birthday Berry Cookie. Try it today and all September long. Subway. Eat fresh.
All right, let's bring in our old friend from ESPN.com, ESPN the magazine, and now ESPN's latest 30 for 30, Ghosts of Ole Miss, which premieres Tuesday night. By the time you hear this podcast in a couple hours on ESPN, the narrator and writer of the documentary, Wright Thompson, what's happening?
Nothing, man. I am in a hotel room in Baton Rouge right now, overlooking Tiger Stadium.
Ain't you for a story?
Yes. I'm writing a story about Les Miles, and I'm basically spending these 2 weeks embedded inside the LSU football program for a ESPN magazine story that'll run in a couple of weeks.
Oh, cool. So you spent the last year working on this 30 for 30, which originally came off a story that you wrote. It was for ESPN.com, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, explain to our audience what that story is.
It was the story of the 1962 Ole Miss football team, which is considered the best team to ever come out of Ole Miss. And I mean, the thing that first drew me to the football aspect of it was that, that's the team that made my dad love sports. I mean, he was from a little town called Bentonia, Mississippi. He was the high school quarterback. He wore number 15 because that's the number that Glenn Griffin, the star of the 62 Rebels, wore. It really is the team that made him fall in love with football. And growing up, if you're my age, I'm 36, and you hear about the glory days of Ole Miss football, you often hear about Archie Manning. And the thing that, if you talk to older fans or start to do some research, is that you realize that Archie's years weren't the glory days. They were this unexpected and sort of last grasp of glory for a team that had been the most powerful one in the country from 57 to 63. Ole Miss was a powerhouse. And so the sports part of it, I was drawn to it because of that. And as you know, 62 is the year that Ole Miss integrated. And the word that was always used when I was growing up to describe what happened the night of integration is riot. And when you think riot, you think like North Carolina students burning a couch. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think, what it actually was, which is the President of the United States had to send the 82nd 101st Airborne to Mississippi to enroll a student at Ole Miss. And so when I moved back to Mississippi, I read American Insurrection, a book by Bill Doyle, who's featured very prominently in the film. And I just realized that I thought I knew this story about what had happened on that awful night in Mississippi, and I didn't. And I didn't really know the story of this incredible team that, as everything at the school and the state was falling apart, managed to pull close to each other. And I didn't know either of these stories, and I didn't think that either of them could exist without each other, so I wanted to write about it in a way that wound them together.
And, we always talk about the best documentaries sometimes, especially for 30 for 30, are stories that also could have easily doubled as some sort of sports movie. This could have been a sports movie. I think it works really well as a documentary, obviously, but there are some sports movie elements to this whole story. Do you agree?
I completely agree. I mean, the fact that, I mean, look, when you see the team near the end of the movie as old men and you see how close they are, you sort of realize the strength of bonds that formed when they were young men. It is very much a movie about teammates, at least the football half of it. And it is very much a movie about, you know, what sports can and can't mean. I mean, a football season doesn't really matter, frankly, in the grand scheme of things, and it doesn't balance out what happened that night. But there is power from the light of one perfect thing, as we say in the movie, and that season, both then and now, serves to remind people that if the violence is the worst of Mississippi, then these men and their relationship with each other and their desire to represent a place positively is the best.
So now we're talking, it's been 50 years, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Since this team. You know, we always look, the original 30 for 30 was a 30-year span from 1979 to 2009, and all those stories that we told, we tried to put it in that framework. And what we didn't realize, which was a little bit surprising to us, was we just kind of underestimated how little a big chunk of ESPN's audience knew about things that had happened, like, say, before 1994. You know, like even something like the O.J. car chase documentary, which we did. It was June 17th, but, you know, that day was so vivid for anybody who was there. It's hard to believe that there's somebody who's like, you know, 20 years old who just had no idea that whole day even really happened and had no opinions on it. So we were kind of amused by how some of these documentaries were received, especially the ones that were set, you know, like the USFL documentary. And people were like, wow, there was a professional football league called the USFL. Like, people just had no idea.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so now we have this documentary. It's set in 1962. And I have to say, like, I remember this story. I remember reading about it in college. Had kind of forgotten about it and was, you know, kind of just blown away by just everything about it, and how, you know, 50 years later, it's just, you think about how far America has come as a country. How do you think people are going to receive this in terms of just like, wow, this actually happened? Like we needed the National Guard to enroll somebody to go to college?
I don't think anyone, even people who think they know the story, are prepared to see up close what the civil rights era looked like. And I mean, you know, there's the extreme nature, say, of Bull Connor's barking dogs makes that seem from another century, and it's sort of easier to deal with. But when you're watching students shout at another student just unbelievably vile, hateful things as they walk to class, almost the smallness and intimacy of that moment is going to be really, really shocking to people, I think. I mean, it certainly was to me. I mean, you know, I don't know if you've seen the movie, but there's some of those things
I saw.
I had a really hard time looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think people realize what it really looked like and what it felt like, and I think the movie does a good job of evoking that.
I mean, this is a loaded question. It's a big picture question, but I did feel like at least part of the thing that pulled you toward this story is people from the Deep South, and you're a native of the Deep South. Like, you always have that latent fear of that, you know, even though this happened 50 years ago, it still happened in people's lifetimes that live there. And is there an undercurrent of this stuff to, like, how do you feel about that now in 2012 in the Deep South?
I think, look, when you watch this movie, you realize how completely different it is, and it just becomes very obvious. I mean, I think a lot of people in other places think that it's still 1962 in Mississippi, and watching this film, you just realize that just absolutely isn't true. And there's a great quote on the James Meredith statue there that I think is the theme of the last act of the movie, which is Murray Evers, whose husband Medgar Evers was assassinated in their driveway in 1963. And her quote is, yes, Mississippi was, but Mississippi is. So all of that is true. A lot has changed. I do feel like there's a simmering sort of issue here where a lot of these things have been, given new words and new codes and some of these feelings still exist. And I think the surest way to stop them from existing is with things just like this movie, which is just to shine a light on it and to say, this is who we were and this is who we are, and we should look at it unflinchingly and honestly and try to see it for what it really is. I mean, this was in the story, it's not in the movie, but it's a crazy fact. The governor of Mississippi during the Civil Rights Movement was the son of a Confederate veteran. I mean, none of this is ancient history. I mean, what's the Faulkner thing? The past isn't dead. It isn't even past.
Yeah. Do you feel like James Meredith has gotten somewhat of a raw deal from history?
Well, I mean, I think it must be hard when you change the world when you're 29. What are you supposed to do for your next act? I mean, I think that in some ways, his accomplishment was also the thing that minimized what it must have been like, because he changed the world so much that people today have a hard time imagining that this world ever could have existed. And so I think when you watch the movie and you see sort of what his days were like, I think a lot of that has been forgotten in the rush and good feeling of progress.
What was creatively more fulfilling for you, to write about this or to do a documentary about it?
Well, I mean, I have to write about it, frankly. I mean, just because I'm in complete control of it and it's a different thing. I mean, I like, it's 12,000 words versus 50 minutes. I mean, the thing that was interesting to me about the documentary was that, it was funny because I was ultimately responsible for something I didn't have control over. I live in Oxford, Mississippi. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I found it incredibly moving to see what Fritz Mitchell did. I mean, the first time I watched it, I cried in 4 or 5 places, and I know this story very well. It's my story. I wrote, and I still was shocked by the power of the pictures.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it was unbelievably rewarding and surprising to see something that I knew better than anyone sort of revealed to me in a new way with just a series of just haymaker gut punches. And then I got to the end and was just, I've seen this thing 30 times now, and I cry every time at the end because I think that it's surprising and cathartic and beautiful and oddly hopeful. And it hits me every time.
Yeah, we had, these are two of the most powerful ones we've done. We had them right in a row. We had Benji last week, which, that was another case of nobody knew that story. And, there's something about it that even as, we were going through the cuts and the various notes and that whole process, the story kind of changed because of stuff that was happening in the current 2011, 2012. And it gave that story a little bit of an added resonance that I think people really responded to. But it was powerful. And then this one I think is even a little more emotional and back to back. He certainly didn't want to go super powerful with 2 back to back. It's the way it's worked out. But I'm really proud of both of them. I was proud to be involved. I think you should be proud too.
Thank you very much. I am, and I think that the movie has the odd effect for people outside of Mississippi and outside of the South for showing, yes, this is what was, but this is what is. And I think for people in the South, it's really a movie about asking questions, and not forcing your answers onto anyone else, but just looking at who we were and where we've been and trying to understand what that past demands of each of us. And it'll be different for every person. And I'm excited about everyone coming to it and seeing it as a prism through which to figure out what should and shouldn't be asked and what the South might look like. I'm very hopeful about its impact on people. And you're right. I'm just real proud to be involved in it and play a little part.
I am too. Last note. This is a little bit of a topic change, but last year on Grantland, you wrote a whole thing about Pappy Van Winkle, and the people who love that product are very upset. Like they feel like you let the cat out of the bag, you betrayed them to some degree, and now it's tougher to get. There was something of a Fight Club element, a little bit, to that beverage, and now tougher to get. Do you want to apologize to those people?
No,
I'm giving you the forum right now.
No, I would say that it is like Fight Club, and if you can't get it, you're not in the Fight Club, because I don't really struggle to get it.
Very fair response.
I mean, if you can't get it, sorry. I mean, I know it's hard to get, but I've never wanted a bottle of it and not been able to get it if I really wanted to and wanted to spend an hour on it.
So any drinking tips? Any other cats you want to let out of the bag here? Anything else that you like? You want to ruin for people who love it?
Oh, I'd love to ruin it for people who love it. No, look, if you like Van Winkle, you like Eagle Rare, and just I hope, please don't let this get back to Julian Van Winkle, but I mean, I basically think it's very close to the same whiskey made in the same place, and it's much easier to find, and it's more high octane. I mean, it'll knock you down, and I don't know, man. I've been doing a lot of that. I really like Bullet, which is really cheap, which I like, although I feel like that people have found out about it because the price is starting to rise. I mean, it's gone from $18 to $24. I've watched it, I don't know how long, but I've just watched the price go up. But now Van Winkle's still where it's at. I was at a Southern Foodways Alliance function a couple of weekends ago, last weekend maybe, 2 weekends ago, and I was there speaking, and before I went on stage, Preston Van Winkle, who's Julian's son, just handed me a flask that they had just, this plastic thing that they had just taken it out of a barrel before they came there. So I was feeling pretty good when I walked out on stage.
Wow.
Just basically unmarked flask of Pappy Van Winkle from Preston. And, and Julian, everywhere he goes, I don't know if you've ever seen those plastic fifth bottles, like quart bottles of Jim Beam.
Yeah.
Like glass people take in football games. He always has an unmarked one of those in his sport coat jacket full of Pappy. I mean, always. Everywhere he goes, he always has that in his pocket. So if you ever see Julian, you should ask him for a nip.
All right. Those are some good recommendations for the alcoholic listeners out there. I think they appreciate them. And one more recommendation. Ghosts of Ole Miss, Tuesday night, ESPN. You will not be disappointed in this one. I think it's powerful. I really liked it. I'm proud of you. You wrote it, and I thought, I don't want to say it complements what you wrote, but I like the fact that they both exist.
Thanks. I think they're different.
Yeah. It's good. You did it justice. Wright Thompson, we will read the Les Miles thing on ESPN.com, I'm sure, in the next couple of weeks, right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.